Fall is the season to get set for winter at Ski Haus. The number one reason families are coming in right now? Junior leases for kids 16 and under. Skip the stress of buying new gear every year. Ski Haus makes it easy and affordable to outfit your kids with skis, boots, and boards, sized just right for the season. While you're there, it's also the perfect time to book a custom boot fitting because comfort on the slopes starts with your boots. And don't forget a DIN safety check to be sure your bindings are dialed in for a safe, fun season ahead. Get your gear, your fit, and your peace of mind all before the snow flies. Visit Ski Haus this fall and make winter easy. They've got locations in Salem, Woburn, and Framingham. And you can head to skihaus.com, that's SKIHAUS.com, to check store hours and directions.
Welcome back to the Ski Moms podcast. It's season 5 and we're hitting the slopes. We're sharing real, unfiltered stories of motherhood on the snow. From conquering the bunny hill with toddlers to squeezing in your own powder days, this season celebrates every type of ski mom. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great season lined up, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Today, the Ski Moms are so excited to talk with Kristel. She is the Assistant Professor and Program Coordinator for the Resort and Hospitality Management Program that runs at Killington Resort. This is a program run by Vermont State University, and we are so intrigued by it and thrilled to have Kristel on. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I've been really excited to jump on this.
So why don't we just start with a little bit of background on your journey and how you ended up at Killington and in the hospitality industry?
I grew up going to Pico Mountain, which is now part of Killington. And I started skiing at like 4 years old. My parents are both skiers. And we would come up on the weekends. We were weekend warriors. I loved it up there. We eventually graduated to Killington. And when I started looking for colleges, I didn't really tell my parents this, but I wanted to go to the college closest to Killington. Thought I was majoring in skiing. And I found Castleton, which it wasn't, I say found it, but my parents also graduated from there. And I applied without even telling them and got accepted, and then was like, can I go to Vermont? Which, of course, they said yes. Majored in business. And I started doing a little bit of instruction through Vermont Adaptive. So just getting my foot in the door. And at that time, thought I was going to be a banker, not work in this industry. But I knew I loved it. I knew I wanted to be up here as much as I could. So I thought volunteering at Vermont Adaptive would be a good way in. Graduated college, didn't find a job up here. So went home to New Jersey and had done an internship while I was in school at Maurice Piers and Beachfront Water Parks. And found myself in this industry right from the beginning. I did everything there. I operated rides. I lifeguarded. Primarily, I worked in group sales and marketing. I stayed there for 12 years, still looking for jobs that I could find up here because my parents actually ended up retiring up here and I was the last one in New Jersey. And then actually the same job I was doing at the amusement park opened up at Killington and I made the move. Turns out amusement parks and ski resorts are pretty much the same from an operations standpoint. So it was an easy transition for me, and I was excited to get back up here.
So we want to hear about how you entered the field of academia, because now you are, while you're working in the resort industry, you're also helping other people and teaching them how to work within the resort industry. How did you make that pivot?
So I always knew I wanted to teach. What I wanted to teach, I didn't really know. So I went back to Castleton, which is now Vermont State University. But when I went and got my MBA, it was still Castleton University. And with the thought process that I would like to start being a part-time professor somewhere. Hopefully Castleton, but at that point I didn't know. So I went through that. It took me 2 years. At the end of it, I was pregnant, so I was kind of rushing. And I would say a couple months later, my boss at Killington reached out to me and said, the Resort and Hospitality Management Program is looking for a marketing professor. Would you at all be interested? And I'm like, heck yes. Yeah. So I started teaching part-time for the program in 2022. And it was really like 2 classes a year. And it was marketing and marketing research. And then the founder of the program, the old program coordinator, Frank Paulze, started talking about retirement, and I started teaching more of the co-op classes because I was working at Killington. So it made a lot of sense for the faculty member that was working at the resort to also teach the classes where the students were working at Killington. So I just started taking on more and more classes. Frank started talking about retiring more and more, and that transition just really happened naturally for me. Last year, I was doing a little bit of both. I was at the Killington Cup with you guys, but now this year I've settled into just the program and focusing on its success.
So give us more of an overview of the program, how it's structured, what kind of student would be a good fit for this.
So it's a 3-year bachelor's degree. And in that 3 years, students are not only completing regular college classes, but we have 3 co-op experiences. So we're on a trimester basis. We start a little later than a regular college does. We start kind of the second week of September. They go 12 weeks on, 1 week off for 3 years. And those 3 co-op experiences, 2 are in the winter. So they have to do front of house and back of house. They work 35 hours or more a week at Killington. And then they have a once a week class. And that once a week class is we're really diving into what's happening on the job. And all of their assignments during that 12 weeks have something to do with their department. So it could be they have to do a supervisor in-service presentation. So running maybe a safety meeting or something like that. So what's happening in the classroom and at work is kind of overlapping and intersecting with each other constantly. And then we have one summer co-op. So the students, I try to tell them, get it over with, do it that first summer. And they can do that summer co-op either at Killington Resort or Woodstock Inn and Resort. And I should say, for all of these co-ops, students are paid. They can also pretty much do anything at the resort as long as it's seasonal. So they can't apply for a full-time year-round job yet. They can. They just might not get it. But they apply like a regular person. They go through the interview process like a regular person. Of course, I'm meeting with the recruiting departments and setting them up for success. However, we want them to practice applying, going through the interview process. So they're not given jobs. They have to apply for jobs, and they don't always get their first choice. So like real life, they go through those interview processes. And summer co-op, they can do whatever they want. But like I said, for winter co-op, they have to do one front of house and one back of house. So they get to learn a lot of different jobs. I think that's the beauty of this program, right? Is that they're coming out with so much experience already. Whereas you typically, when you graduate college, maybe you did an internship, but maybe you didn't. So I will say a lot of businesses, I didn't know this when I took this job, but people want our students. So as soon as I got this job, I got bombarded with emails of, I need a student that's graduating. I need a student that could do an internship. And students do have time to do an extra internship, either in that second summer or in that third winter that they're here. Because like I said, there's only those 3 co-ops, and most of our students will do an internship at some point. So really, they're doing 4 to 5 jobs while they're here for the 3 years. With that being said, more of the hands-on doesn't really end where the co-ops end. Even our regular classes in the spring and then the fall are all really hands-on. Anything that's a resort and hospitality management core class doesn't typically use a textbook. And that's because we're using real-life data from the resort. So, for example, our 2 accounting classes are taught by the controller at Killington Resort. So he's using real information from the resort and bringing it into the classroom. So therefore, they don't need a textbook. And I teach marketing research, and it's the same thing. We're using data from the surveys that the resort sends out and making real recommendations to the resort from that class.
And tell us a little bit about where you see students going on to after graduation.
Yeah, so our students go pretty much everywhere. We have students in 31 states and 5 different countries. Most of them, I will say, will stay in the ski resort industry for some amount of time. Some of them graduate and they never want to see snow again. And they're working in Costa Rica, Mexico, even Florida, and 5-star resorts. I mean, the truth in the matter, right, is that we all change careers now. Like, no one's really staying in that same career. And the beauty of this degree is while it does focus on hospitality and the ski industry, it is a business degree at its core, right? So you can take that degree and use it anywhere. We have alumni that are in the military, law enforcement, nursing. When they redid the bottom of the Killington Road, it used to be like a crazy incline to get up here. The girl that was in charge of doing the blasts was one of our alumni. So our students are definitely taking this degree and bringing it everywhere. And then, of course, we have people like Amy Laramie and Jordan Spear, who are on the resort leadership team at Killington and alumni of our program. The grooming manager, the snowmaking manager, retail managers, rental managers are all alumni of our program. So it's a really great feeder program for the resort and getting a new management team.
It is such an amazing program. Thank you for walking us through it. Talk to us a little bit about what the tuition looks like. It sounds like a pretty affordable program because there's kind of built-in work study into it. What are we looking at for like a 3-year degree? And is it different if you're in state living in Vermont versus out of state?
Yeah, so we do have an in-state versus out of state. And I will say that for the last 2 to 3 years, our students have graduated debt-free. And that is a true testament of working while you're going to school. So the average amount that our students make in their co-ops is about $32,000. Yeah, this graduating class that just graduated a couple weeks ago now, their total wages earned were over $610,000 because they worked a combine of over 32,000 hours. And I will say, like, some of the students, they make over 50 grand while they're here. Those students are typically working outside of those co-op times, right? So they're pretty much just working year round while they're here.
That's what I was really hoping that you were going to paint some color around, graduating debt-free, because look, it's realistically not going to be a career where you're going to land a job 6 figures coming right out of school. And, if you are graduating, let's say from Princeton with $200,000 of student loans looming over you, and you said, you know what, I really have a passion for the ski industry. Well, that's not going to make a whole lot of sense for that student necessarily.
Right.
Maybe they have a poetry major. And, we love practical degrees like this that really matches students' interests and that there's a job on the other side of this. I mean, of course, we want kids to learn how to think and how to learn and how to analyze. And I'm assuming that all of that is built into this as well, but just with a lens of business. So, Kristel, it sounds like you've had a lot of pivots. What does your day-to-day look like now? Does it change seasonally or do you keep a pretty consistent pace?
For me right now, I will say it changes by the trimester, right? So in the fall, I would say for me and the students, right? It changes by the trimester. So in the fall, I'm teaching a full load of classes. The students are also taking a full load of classes. So I'm teaching 4 to 5 days a week. Then when we get to co-op, the students are taking the brunt of the weight and I'm stepping back a little bit because they are working 35 plus hours at the resort. I'm teaching 1 day a week. That's where I'm getting the little balance, right? So I'm getting to ski. I have to ski around, right? To make sure I can see the students working. And then into the spring, we go back to a full load of classes. I'm teaching a full load. They're taking a full load of classes. And then summer, I'm teaching 1 day a week and they're working. With that being said, I still get the opportunity to be out in the community working with the Killington Pico Area Association. We always have a student that works down there in the Welcome Center. And I'm getting the best of both worlds, right? So I'm still really involved with the resort. I actually am still an employee. I'm doing something different now. I'm working. My kids go to Killington childcare, so I'm a substitute over there sometimes. And so I still get to be a part of that, and I get to be there to support the students while they are working.
If a student was interested, if someone heard about this program and thought this sounded really interesting, do they apply directly into this program when they're applying to VSU?
Yes and no, right? So most of the students will apply directly into this program. They will start. We do get a fair amount, I would say 2 to 4 transfer students in from one of the main campuses. I will say, like, that's the big difference, right? Is that it's a different experience. Like, you're not getting the regular college experience of, like, 1,000, couple thousand kids. We're all doing different majors and there's sporting events and stuff like that. Now, our students have full access to the main campuses. They can go down to football games, they can go to hockey games, they're invited to all the events, but they don't go. All of their passions and everything they want to do are up here at Killington. So because they play, they live, they learn, everything they do is up here. And our students are kind of like in cohorts, right? So about 16 to 20 students come in at a time. They're taking all of their classes together because all of our classes are up here at Killington. So they're not having to go down to the main campus to take a gen ed class. Even the gen ed classes we bring up here support them in what this program teaches. So we're not bringing up a chemistry class because, one, they're not going to want that. We're doing the science that we have up here typically is weather and climate or mountain ecology or even meteorology. So stuff that our students are going to be interested in and also fulfill those gen ed requirements at the same time.
And are you offering student housing? How do the students, let's say they're coming from out of state or they're coming from a different part of Vermont, how do they handle the housing for the 3 years?
So we actually have a dorm up here. We call it the Lodge, and it's the old Butternut Inn and Pancake House that we have refurbished into a dorm. And it's actually a learning laboratory. So we use it as part of the curriculum of this program. So they have their own food service there. The lodge is open year round, unlike most dorms, because our program goes year round. Students are required to live there at least the first year. I will say most of them stay longer. And how we make it into part of the curriculum, right, is that we have a food and service operations class. Well, they have food service at the lodge. So they use that kitchen as part of that class. The maintenance of the building, right? Like, we have to do maintenance of a ski resort and the lodges. So we incorporate that into some of our operations classes. And even the marketing of the program, we have marketing classes, right? So if you've been on any of our social media, that is run by our students. We have a social media class, principles of marketing. So whatever class is in a marketing class at that point takes over the social media channels.
And how is it split right now between men and women? Are you finding that this is, a pretty male interested program, or is it pretty evenly split?
Yeah, so just like the ski industry, it's still really heavy males versus females. We are seeing more and more females come into the program, which is in line with what's happening in the industry, where we're seeing more women become managers and vice presidents and general managers and presidents of ski resorts, right? So it is kind of in line with what's happening in the industry. As a woman that worked in the industry for so long, it's been really great to see the program kind of mirror what's happening. And also, almost like, I know that these women in our program are going to be the next, like, Amy Laramie and GMs of ski resorts, which is really exciting for me to watch.
Ski season starts early in Boston at Snowbound Expo 2025, November 14th to 16th at the Menino Convention and Exhibition Center. It's the ultimate gathering for skiers and riders. Shop gear and apparel with discounts up to 70% off. Meet top resorts and brands. And hear inspiring stories from athletes like Zeb Powell, Amy Engerbretson, and Donnie Pelletier. Bring the whole family for hands-on fun, from trampoline shows to ski lessons for kids, or come with friends and dive into New England's biggest winter kickoff party. We've got discounted tickets. You can get $10 tickets for the weekend at snowboundexpo.com/tickets with code MOMTRENDS10. Snowbound Expo Boston. Kickstart your season here. So you've been in this industry for a while, and are you seeing, well, it's wonderful you're seeing more young women coming into the industry, but what are some of the other trends or changes that you're seeing that are exciting right now?
Yeah, I would say yeah, this was the question. I was like, I think really like from not only like my side of higher education, but also the ski industry is like, how is AI and how is AI going to affect both, right? I've been taking a lot of AI courses for education right now and seeing how it's going to apply in the classroom. But I'm a professor that I need to prepare these students for the tools that they're going to have access to, right? So I'm not against it at all. And how the ski industry is going to use those tools as well in the upcoming years. I think that's going to be really exciting to watch and how streamlined things are going to be. We've already really seen it with like the gates and everything like that, and really that you're mostly purchasing anything for a ski resort online and not at a ticket window anymore. So for me, that's going to be really exciting to watch that unfold.
Yeah, I think AI can be really helpful for, give me a 1-year maintenance plan for this building, or give me a prediction based off last year's numbers, what our, monthly averages will be. I also think AI doesn't know what it doesn't know. It's got the data that you can feed into it, so it doesn't know that human experience of, what are the maybe it's going to be able to predict the growing markets, but maybe not the specific campaigns that are going to match to that market, and ways to get skiers that we don't even know want to be skiers yet. So I think it's really important that you're training this next generation to think dynamically and to, have that sort of growth mindset as well, to be really curious about ways that not only that they can grow, but the industry can grow as well.
Yeah, and like right now we're using it as like, okay, use the AI as like a starting tool, right? Like not do it for you, right? Because like you said, it's not always going to be right and it doesn't know what it doesn't know. But use it as like use it as part of a brainstorming session. Like instead like with humans also, but also use the tool of AI at the same time.
So when we talk to women in the industry who've had these amazing careers, and you have definitely manifested your dream job, I really just such a great story of this is something that you dreamed of and you've got it at such a young age. When you're thinking about more women entering the field, you've got a daughter. That's often something that, gets in the way is that childcare component. What are some of the things that Killington specifically, or maybe your program, is doing to make sure that we're attracting the best and brightest talent that may not just be, a white guy who loves skiing?
Yeah, this is definitely like I would say like a passion question for me. Why I love Killington so much and why I worked there for so long and I'm still such a strong part of it, right? Is that they do support women in the industry and entering the industry. So I didn't share this before, but I left Killington, moved to Maine, and came back and was rehired at Killington at 8.5 months pregnant. And also, it was October. So it was right before the ski season. Obviously, like, you can't not hire someone when they're pregnant, but I just feel like that's like a testament, right? And then also, they have their own childcare facility, right? So, yes, the guests use that childcare facility, but it is very deeply discounted to the employees so that we can obviously go to work. And so, yeah, every daycare has like hours, right? But this daycare is open 7 days a week, all winter long. It has extended hours for employees. And then on the scheduling side, right, is that when I was like, okay, well, I have to leave every day at 4:30 so that I can pick up the girls. No one is making me feel bad about it. No one is making me feel any type of way that like, yes, family first, go and get the girls and have a great night. Where I would say like going back through my career and working in this industry, it didn't always feel that way. I'm not necessarily talking about Killington, but how they support you in and your family is just so important to me. And it's important for me to talk about that, right? And make sure that the women going through this program know that there are support systems out there and you also should ask for what you need, right? Because I nursed the entire time for the first year for each of my daughters. And like, what did I need to be able to pump at work? And Killington was obviously, like before I even asked, they were like, put your pump, obviously, like there's a refrigerator, there's all the things you could possibly need to get that done and take all the time you need. There's even some moms that work at Killington that will come down to childcare and actually nurse instead of pump, which is just a beautiful thing that you're at work and you can run down and take care of your child at the same time.
Well, it's awesome to hear that this is all being embraced and supported. And I'm also thinking about the young men and women students that you have, seeing you as an example that, you are leaving and you have balance, picking up your kids from daycare. And I love that. And I think that will attract more and more young women to the industry as well.
Yeah. And even now, I would say sometimes my toddlers are in the lodge. I'm like, nothing like having toddlers in a college dorm. Or if my oldest daughter broke her collarbone last fall and she spent some time sitting in class, and the students are like, here, I have colored pens. So it is really just, yeah, asking for what you need. And you'll be surprised at how supportive people can be.
I like what Sarah was also touching on is that we need to give opportunities for these young men as well, that maybe, we've seen the plummeting rates of men versus women going to college. And I feel like programs like this, sometimes we think the male brain is more prone to like doing things. They have that sort of like fix it gene. And this is such a happy compromise for the parents that are like, look, you've got to get a degree. It's going to make you so much more employable as time goes on. And this is allowing them to do something they're passionate about. But to your point, like if they wake up in 10 years and say like, oh, I don't want to work, in this really seasonal business, they can go to a resort that's year round and they do have this business degree. What else would you tell the parents who maybe are on the fence because this looks a little less than traditional?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that's putting it lightly, right? It's very not traditional. We have a lot of students that come through that way, right? Where it's a compromise with their parents and them. Like they don't want to go to college. Their parents want them to go to college. And it's a hands-on experience while getting that education. Oh, I actually was just at a vehicle maintenance tour with my summer co-op class, and the grooming manager is alumni of the program. And one of the students asked him, like, what was your how did you get here? Why did you end up here? And he said, quite honestly, I wouldn't have gone to college if it wasn't for this program. And he's like, I'm not that great at school, but I'm really good with my hands. And that's what got me through. So what we do tell parents, right? Because we have parents that push back on their kids and they want them to get that regular college experience, is that this, you want your kids to be happy, right? At the end of the day. And if they can combine a passion with an education and a career, like that's the secret sauce. Like that's what we all really want. And like I said before, is that if they want to go to a party or a football game or any of those regular traditional college things, Castleton is, 40 minutes away. It's not that far away. And they can take the bus or they can drive down there and experience them both. We've also seen where the parent wins, right? And they go to the main campus for a year and then they transfer up here. And that kind of makes everyone happy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, we just want our kids to be happy. And if they can go to college for something that they really are passionate about, then why wouldn't we let them?
And graduate debt-free in 3 years. That's pretty appealing as well.
Yeah, and then, like, the other side of that is you graduate in 3 years. Well, VTSU has a 1-year MBA program, and they can be completely done with a master's degree in 4 years if they really want to, and I feel like that's definitely a selling point for parents as well.
That is amazing. So what does the application process look like? Is it a traditional, like you would apply I think most college deadlines are around January 1st, or is it a different process?
So it's the same process as VTSU has, which is significantly easier than when I went through it. It's a rolling application, so they always accept applications year round. We only accept students into our program in the fall and the spring, And the reason for that is, you don't want to come right in and start doing a co-op and not actually get to be with the people you're living with and going to class with. So it's a rolling application. It's just an application. Students don't have to write an essay anymore. They don't have to present SAT scores or anything like that. Of course, they can still write an essay, which will be reviewed, but it's definitely a much easier process than it was when I went to school. And I feel like that's just removing barriers that people have about not necessarily wanting to go through the process.
Okay, maybe this is silly, but do any of the students not know how to ski?
That's not silly. And there are always one or two. And most of them, I will say, are skiing by the end of the 3 years. Not all of them. There's always one or two through the 3 years that are like, nah, I'm good. And that's one of the reasons we added Woodstock Inn and Resort as a summer partner. Because some people are really, want that, they want to go work at a 5-star resort, and that bringing them in as a partner gives the students that necessarily aren't there for the ski industry an extra opportunity for a more high-end resort experience.
And what about transportation? Is this something where you'd have to drop your freshmen off with a car? Are they going to need to be getting themselves back and forth, or is that built into, is there a shuttle? Is it kind of built into the program?
Yeah. I strongly suggest people come with a car, but if they don't have a car, it's totally doable. Like I said, because they're cohorts, most of the students will just drive together to class. And the classrooms are at the bottom of the access road. The lodge is in the middle of the access road, and then you work at the top of the access road. So you're not going far and have to be at a bunch of different places. As Killington employees and VTSU students, they get to ride the bus for free. So there is a shuttle up and down the access road and into Rutland if they wanted to go shopping. So they don't have to have a car. The bus stop's right at the end of the road where they live, and they can get up and down the access road pretty easily. But like I said, they all are really close. They're like a big family. They're always driving together typically.
Do the students have a favorite rotation or co-op that they're just kind of so excited when it's finally their time to get a chance to do it?
With the co-ops, they apply for certain jobs, right? So they're not necessarily going to filter through every job at Killington. I will say some really popular ones in the summer are the golf course. And in the winter, it's snowmaking, grooming. Food and beverage is typically very popular. And also that changes, right? So we're just coming out of a time where we had a lot of students that wanted to be in grooming and snowmaking. And it seems like it's shifting a little bit more into the food and beverage and more front of house. But every couple of years that shifts.
What's the mascot of the Vermont State University? Is it a snowcat?
No, you know what? The main campuses all still have their own mascots. So Vermont State University doesn't have its whole mascot, right? So because I went to Castleton, I know that mascot's a Spartan.
Okay, I'm pushing for the snowcat for this program. We could put little ears on it.
Well, what I've been pushing for is to have all the mascots come here and ski down and get a photo of all the mascots together. And then also having our graduates wear their caps and gowns and ski down. I pitched it to them this year and they were like, oh, well, we're not going to wear caps and gowns. I'm like, oh, you're breaking my heart.
Oh, what about food? And they're obviously not going to the local, at the dorm, there's one cafeteria. They're sort of on their own, or are they having to be more independent? You said that's one aspect of it is the learning lab, but are they preparing their meals otherwise?
So the lodge has food service, and it is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's also snacks. There's grab and go food at all times. Because it was an old pancake house, it has a different feel than your normal food service at a college, right? So it's kind of like you're walking into the dining room. The chef comes in and out. So it's a grab and go breakfast, made to order lunch, but then they also put stuff out on the bar, and then a hot dinner. Now, while I say this is that during the fall and spring semesters, that's pretty much the deal. That's what it is. During the co-op, because we have students that are going out everywhere, they can either order their lunch the night before and take it with them to work that day, or they just grab some of the grab and go. Now, also being a Killington employee, you get a really great discount on food and beverage. So some students will, just enjoy lunch at one of the lodges, depending on what kind of job they're in. So I would say our students typically will eat at the lodge. Of course, they take advantage of being a Killington employee and will treat themselves more often than a regular college student.
Anything else that we want to highlight about the program?
I just think like my final stuff about the program is that I have seen now, and you have talked to one of the parents, right, of like success stories, right? So Calvin actually, he started in the program my first year of teaching, and he was just like any other freshman student, and you're like, oh, is he gonna get it? Not get it? We'll see. Time will tell. And he left the first summer, or he did a summer co-op. I saw him again in the fall. He told me he wanted to work in marketing. I was still working in the marketing department at Killington. And I was like, great, let's go through the application process. He ended up being the snow reporter for 2 years. He's still working at the resort, doing a lot of the social media, a lot of the video. And I feel like that's I call this like a passion career because I get to see those things happen, right? They come in as like a questionable freshman and then they become really successful at the resort and a contributing member of the team. And then when I was working in the marketing department, I was getting to work right beside people that started out as a student. And I think that that's like the beauty of this program and why I love it so much.
Okay, so we're going to now pivot a little bit and talk about people go into this career, make these choices because they love the outdoors. And I love that you said your schedule is such that when they are doing co-ops, you have a little bit more free time. Where are we going to find Kristel on one of those weekday powder mornings when the rest of the suckers are going to their desk job and you have the day?
Yeah. So, well, it depends on what day of week it is, right? So if it's a Tuesday or Wednesday powder day, I'm dropping my kids off at childcare, Killington Childcare, which is at Ram's Head, and just getting on the lift and going until my legs are too tired and then coming to the office and then going to grab the kids. If it's not a Tuesday or Wednesday, say it's a Monday, Thursday, or a Friday, then I'm going to just go to my first love, which is Pico. And a lot of the reason for that is that my dad is still skiing. He skis over 100 days a year, and I know that he'll always be there. So I get to ski a powder day with my dad. I will say on occasion, we will call a powder day here at the program. We did it for the last powder day of the season. That was actually in April this year. I sent a message out to everyone and said, no class today. Go ahead. We don't do it very often. I don't want parents thinking we're canceling classes for powder days, but when it's going to be the last one of the season, most of them may not come to class anyway.
And can you describe the difference between Pico and Killington? I don't know if everyone knows Killington, obviously the World Cup, the Beast. But
Right.
Can you describe Pico to those listeners that maybe didn't know about this sister resort?
Yeah. So Pico is, we call it like the smaller sister of Killington. But quite frankly, if it wasn't next to Killington, it would be a big mountain in its own right. It has that small mountain charm, one lodge. So all trails go to the same place, which is really great for families. And I didn't realize that till I had my own kids. And now I realize why my parents went to Pico so much when we were younger. Because you'll see a lot like younger kids, you can set your kids free and say, meet me at the lodge at X amount of time, and everyone will make sure that they're at the same lodge. So I will say that it's closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which is why I said I go to Ram's Head on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But it is, it's where I grew up skiing. So of course I have like a special place in my heart for it. But it's just such a family-friendly mountain. And that's not to say that Killington's not. It's just that it's on a smaller scale. And like I said, everything ends in the same place.
And Pico has that old stone hearth where I think they still use real logs in it.
They do.
And I also love they have all the sleds in the parking lot. So for the young families that are trying to schlep their stuff from parking to the main lodge, that always made it user friendly. And back when the girls were just, starting racing, they ran great races. Those things ran on time. You could tell that Pico had set up 1 million races over the years because that thing was set. The timing never had errors like many other mountains did. We are always super excited when we saw there was a Pico race.
Yeah. Yeah. And they actually do have those sleds at Ram's Head because that's kind of the that's where the drop off is for lessons for kids and everything. So, and I think that's maybe why I like, that's where I like to start too, because maybe it's kind of more like Pico for me, but it's just a great starting point to be able to get to the rest of the mountain too.
Okay, so you've had your powder day, and now, maybe it's a day you're not picking up the girls, and you're going to have some après time. What does that look like?
Yeah. So kind of gave it away already. So last run lounge at Pico with my dad, because I've been going there with my dad since far before I could drink, and just having one or two beers with him because, he's in his 70s. We don't, he could decide to stop skiing, but right now he's still beating me down the mountain every single run and skis more than I do. So, but yeah, that's definitely my go-to après. Even, if it decided to snow right now, that's what I would go do.
Kristel, thank you. This has been absolutely wonderful. I think we're going to get a lot of families interested in this. Where would they start their journey to find out more?
Yeah, so right on the Vermont State website. So it's vermontstate.edu. And if you go in the top right corner and search Resort and Hospitality Management, it'll bring you right to the page where there's tuition pricing, there's examples of class schedules. It has my contact information and the admissions person's contact information. And that's a great starting point. What I do like to tell people is that we want you to come visit. And that's because it's not a traditional college experience. We want you to see the lodge, the classrooms, how close everything is, and really explain to people how different the schedule is, right? Because I didn't mention this before, but our winter co-op goes over the holidays. So our students don't necessarily go home for the holidays. We get them home at different times, but we really want people to come out here and see it so that they understand the experience.
Hey, Ski Moms, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and got some great tips for your next family ski adventure. If you had as much fun listening as we did making this episode, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our latest episodes. And don't forget to rate and review us. Your feedback helps us bring you more of the content you love and helps other ski moms find our podcast. Plus, we love hearing from you. So whether you're on the slopes or just dreaming of your next snowy getaway, stay connected with us. Follow us on social media, share your favorite episodes with your friends, and let's keep this awesome community growing. Planning your next mountain holiday? Skip the crowded platforms and check out Ski Mom Family Rentals, a trusted space to find family-friendly homes in ski towns across North America. And if you're a homeowner, it's a smart way to get your property in front of like-minded ski families without the big fees. Whether you're booking your next getaway or want more visibility and bookings for your home, visit skimomfamilyrentals.com and make your mountain time matter. Planning your next mountain holiday? Skip the crowded platforms and check out Ski Mom Family Rentals, a trusted space to find family-friendly homes in ski towns across North America. And if you're a homeowner, it's a smart way to get your property in front of like-minded ski families without the big fees. Whether you're booking your next getaway or want more visibility and bookings for your home, visit skimomfamilyrentals.com and make your mountain time matter.